doing is quadratic formula. The first thing I want to do is establish what my A, my B, and my C are going to be. All right, that's first and foremost. I got to establish that. And we're literally just plugging the numbers in. -6, I plug that B in, plus or minus. B squared, -6 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 22, all over 2 times 1. That's the first step. Plug the numbers in. That's it. Then we do the math behind it. This becomes -6 plus or minus. -6 squared is 36. 4 times 1 times 22 is 88. And that's all over 2. And then we clean it up here. It's -6 plus or minus -52 over 2. When I get to here, okay, I got to simplify the radical if possible. So if you can simplify this radical, you must do so. So in this case, 52 simplifies 2 and 26, 2 and 13. Pair of 2's. And since it's a negative, it becomes 2i root 13. If it was just a positive, it would be 2 root 13. Since it's a negative, it's 2i root 13. And then to finish the problem off, I need to divide both terms by 2. -6 divided by 2 is -3. 2 over 2 cancels, and I'm left with an I root 13 behind. And that's my answer. -3 plus or minus I root 13. Second one. A equals 2, B equals -4, C equals -7. I want to establish those numbers right away. -4 plus or minus -4 squared minus 4 times 2 times -7. The signs are extremely important here. So -4 times 2 times -7. And that's all over 2 times 2. -4 becomes a positive 4. -4 squared is 16. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 7 is 56. This is a double negative. So we add 56 here, and it's all over 4. And that becomes 4 plus or minus root 72 over 4. That's me cleaning it up. Now I've got to break down 72. 2 and 36. 2 and 18. 2 and 9. 3 and 3. Pair of 3's, pair of 2's, and 1 2 left over. So this becomes 4 plus or minus 6 root 2 over 4. And yes, you do need to break the radical down if you can. If you can't break the radical down, it's great, you leave it. But if you can break the radical down, you need to do so. 4 over 4 is 1. 6 over 4 is 3/2 times your root 2. And that's your answer. My A is 3. My B is -5, and my C is 9. So it becomes -5 plus or minus, it's a -5 squared minus 4 times 3 times 9. And that's all over 2 times 3. Make sure the fraction bar goes under everything, not just the radical. That's kind of a careless mistake people sometimes make. -5 is 5. Plus or minus, so it's 5 plus or minus 25. 4 times 3 is 12 times 9 minus 108 over 6. This becomes 5 plus or minus root -83 over 6. Now, in a weird way, you should like the more complicated problems, because there's actually less to simplify. You can't simplify 83, but if there is a negative in there, you do need to pull it out. -root 83 simplifies to I root 83, and that's your answer. Not much more you can do with it. Now, could you write it as 5, 6 plus or minus I root 83 over 6? Sure. But splitting that one up is not as big a deal to me. The next one, A equals 1, B equals -6, and C equals 2. Okay? -6 plus or minus the square root of -6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. And that's all over 2 times 1. -6 is 6. -6 squared is 36 minus 8 over 2. And 6 plus or minus root 28 over 2. That's cleaning up the math. Now, my root 28 can be simplified. 2 and 14, 2 and 7. Pair of 2's. So 6 plus or minus 2 root 7 over 2 is really just 3 plus or minus root 7. The extra step here is essentially we've got to get everything equal to 0. So this becomes x squared minus 4x plus 10 equals 0. And that's where I get my a, b, and c from. My a is 1, my b is -4, and my c is 10. -4 plus or minus -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10. And that's all over 2 times 1. -4 is a positive 4. -4 squared is 16 minus 40 over 2. 4 plus or minus -24 over 2. And I've got to simplify the 24. 2 and 12, 2 and 6, 2 and 3. Pair of 2's. 4 plus or minus 2i root 3. Oop. Sorry. 2i root 6. Excuse me with that. Over 2. And that 4 over 2 is 2. Plus or minus the 2 over 2 cancels. And we're left with plus or minus I root 6. Those are your answers. If I take a look at the second one, I'm simply moving the 15 over. And now I can begin doing quadratic formula. A equals 3, B equals 5, and this C equals -15. Now this works out very nicely in this sense. -5 plus or minus 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times a -15 over 2 times 1. -5 plus or minus 25 plus 12 times 15 is 180. And the two negatives represent a positive. Oops. Don't be careless here, I apologize. This should be 2 times a, so 2 times 3. A lot of times you get the rhythm putting a 1 there. So then this part right here, 2 times 3, it's over 6. Now what works out very nicely here is this. You can't simplify root 205. So we're done. You can't simplify it, you leave it. And that's it. Any questions with that? What it would look like? My A is 2, my B is 11, and my C is 15. So it's 11 squared minus 4 times 2 times 15. That's 121 minus 120. Can we agree that 1 is a perfect square? Right? We can take the square root of that, so we get 2 rational solutions. And that's our answer. Becomes -6 squared. And actually, I should write A equals 1, B equals -6, and C equals 20. So -6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 20. Well, that's 36 minus 80, and that's a -44. I don't need to do anything with it. It's a number less than 0. I'm going to get 2 complex solutions, and that's the answer. That's it. The bottom two, something to look for. Anytime your C is negative, there's a good chance you're going to have at least real solutions. Because you're going to create that double negative. Rarely is your A going to be negative. Your A is going to be negative. That can affect it as well. Usually A is not negative. The C is negative. It creates a double negative on the back end of your expression underneath the radical. Therefore, it makes it positive. So in this case, it's going to be 6 squared minus 4 times 3 times a negative 10. 6 squared is 36. Negative 12 times negative 10, that's a plus 120, and we get 156. So therefore, we get 2 real solutions. Finally, A equals 9, B equals negative 24, C equals 16. Negative 24 squared minus 4 times 9 times 16. Negative 24 squared is 576. 36 times 16 is 576. And 0 is our answer. And that leaves us with 1 double root. Whenever the radical equals 0, we get 1 double root. And that's our answer.